Picture an elegant 1940s couple, especially the woman, who leaves everyone breathless when she steps out from her luxurious villa with a stable.
It might seem like an insignificant detail, but still, imagine that in her villa she has a collection of more precisely various items made of leather, human leather, especially from people who have tattoos on their bodies.
So, today we're going to talk about such a lady. Her name is Ilse Koch, and she is the Witch of Buchenwald. These are Bublicka and Slivka. In 1906, Margareta Ilse Kuller was born in Dresden.
She was still Kuller then, just an ordinary girl from a working-class family. As a child, she attended school, played with friends, and did typical things. Nothing hinted at future trouble.
There were no publicly known warning signs.
Still, we shouldn't forget these events occurred over 100 years ago.
Well, if we're talking specifically about Ilse Koch's childhood, then maybe there was something there.
But overall, it's known that her childhood was ordinary. At 17, the girl finished school and immediately started working. She worked at a factory, as an accountant, and as a secretary. In short, she wasn't idle at home. This was in the 1920s, when Germany after World War I was in total chaos. Inflation, joblessness, poverty, darkness, and it was at that time that a new political force appeared on the horizon, the Nazis, in which Ms. Ilse would later find and fully reveal herself. The turning point in Lenasna's life came in 1932, as that was when she joined the Nazi Party. Why? Who knows? I'm not a Nazi after all. Maybe she believed in their ideals. Maybe she wanted to be part of something bigger, or maybe she was just completely messed up.
I'm not going to judge.
I will. But honestly, I think even back then there was darkness in her just waiting for the right moment.
The Nazis gave her the place and time. 2 years after that, Ilse met Carlotta Koch, a charismatic SS officer who quickly climbed the career ladder and kept moving up.
Ilse took a liking to him, as you can imagine, and he liked her too.
I dare say they shared the same outlook on life. In any case, 2 years later, they got married.
It was the perfect Nazi family. Young, beautiful, devoted to the party. What could possibly go wrong?
In 1937, Karl Koch was appointed commandant of the then new concentration camp Buchenwald. Ilse went with him. They settled in a luxurious villa on the campgrounds and fully enjoyed life. How could it be otherwise? From their windows, they saw the barracks where people died daily from torture and starvation. This couple was more than comfortable. Again, nation, party, ideals, you know. This was when true hell began. Mrs. Koch quickly gained unofficial, but believe me, very real power in the camp.
She wasn't just another wife of another commandant of another concentration camp, no.
She actively participated in the system of terror and introduced many innovations herself. Former prisoners said that when she walked around the campgrounds, she always appeared in elegant dresses and with a whip in her hand. If someone looked at her, they'd get beaten. If someone didn't look at her, they'd also get beaten, because why not? After all, it's Ilse Koch. She can do whatever she wants. The woman constantly provoked the prisoners to have a reason to punish them, although on the other hand, it's not like she really needed one. Rather, it was her own twisted game.
Mrs. Koch is mostly associated with her love for items made of leather, human leather with tattoos on it.
The woman chose tattooed prisoners, had them killed, and made items from their tattooed skin. Lampshades, book covers, gloves, various little things, all made from it, so to speak. This was truly her passion, which was fully encouraged by her husband and, of course, by the camp command. One of the prisoners who survived later told the following: "She would come during roll calls and inspect us like cattle. Seeing an interesting tattoo meant a death sentence. The person vanished."
A few days later, we'd see new souvenirs.
Court evidence shows that the woman's collection even included human heads, shrunk using some special technology.
She used these heads at home simply as decoration. Where she got such ideas from, I can't even imagine.
Maybe she just went on some Pinterest SS or something. Anyway, the woman often ordered specific tattoos for her collection. Like, she could say, "I need a dragon," or "I'm missing a seascape." The witness, Walter Kramer, Polish prisoner number 4267, testified the following in court. One prisoner artist, trying to save his life, offered to draw anything she wanted, but on paper. Ilse replied, "Why use paper when there's skin?" The sadism was truly limitless. According to the testimony of one Austrian prisoner, the woman herself watched the torture for hours. She just stood there, did nothing, drank coffee, relaxed, as if it was just an ordinary day in her life. The following case has been documented. This is from the American tribunal about this woman. We will get to it later.
Once a prisoner accidentally splashed mud on the woman's shoes.
He didn't even look at her. He was just doing something, and some drops of mud landed on her shoes. She ordered the man to be tied to a post in the freezing cold and doused with water until he turned into a kind of ice statue, and then to place his body at the entrance to the barracks. As a kind of reminder for the others, and here is the testimony of the camp doctor. Once, a pregnant prisoner arrived at the camp. Ilse beat her in the stomach until she lost her baby. Then she forced her to work immediately in that condition, without medical help or rest. The woman died a few days later. At other times, Ilse led an active, quite social life, since she had friends, her husband had friends, and they would sometimes meet together at her villa. And there she liked to organize entertainment for her guests, since she was a good Nazi hostess. So, when all those SS families gathered at their villa, she would order Mrs. Koch to bring prisoners to them, and then they would fight each other. That's how it was, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. For example, prisoners were given huge stones and ordered to run up the quarry. If someone tripped or fell slightly, they were thrown down. And all this SS gang would place bets on who would make it and who wouldn't. The witch even came up with a name for this game. These were the Stairs of Death. While people were dying of hunger just beyond the fence, the Koch family lived in incredible luxury. Their villa was furnished with antiques, mostly looted. As I mentioned, they had a stable with thoroughbred horses, the good old Bridgertons on SS steroids. Besides that, Koch loved to dress beautifully and ordered the best dresses from the best tailors. Sometimes these good tailors were, at the same time, terrible and horrifying prisoners of the camp. Well, just imagine a Jewish tailor whose family had already died in the gas chamber was forced to make a dress for this Koch, for the person who tormented his relatives, his loved ones, and basically was part of this whole messed up system. But here's the thing, even the damn Nazis eventually got fed up with the Koch family. In 1943, Karl Koch was arrested for stealing money from the SS.
Of course he thought of that, but that's always been the case everywhere. Overall, it's a complete mess.
So, the guy was arrested not for being responsible for the deaths of hundreds, maybe thousands of people, but for stealing money from the SS. Well, in the end, he was shot not long before the end of the war in 1945. And as for Ilse, she somehow managed to get away with it. Well, I mean, she was arrested too, but then released. They said there wasn't enough evidence. She even managed to have a child with some German soldier. By the way, the affair started while her husband was still alive. Imagine that. She settled in Ludwigsburg, living openly under her real name without hiding or concealing anything. After all, well, her Nazi career was over, but life goes on. When the Americans liberated Buchenwald in 1945 and heard the testimonies of those who survived there, they quickly came to Mrs. Koch with questions.
The American investigating officer who conducted the investigation later wrote,
I had seen many horrors of war, but what they told me about this woman was simply beyond comprehension. We found these lampshades. It was human skin. One had a tattoo of a ship, another, a heart, pierced with an arrow with initials. Ilse Koch was arrested. In 1947, she wasn't in her villa but on the defendant's bench. Still, even then she tried to keep her composure, elegant, calm, as if it was just an ordinary day in her life. Witnesses repeatedly described the crimes this lady committed. And she just sat there like that and said, no, it wasn't me, I don't know anything, scheisse, nothing happened. But there was too much testimony, and from different people. A Polish doctor, a prisoner, testified under oath how once a woman came to the camp hospital, chose 3 patients with nice tattoos and said, these ones suit me. The next day they were gone, but new lampshades appeared. Our snack shows how things have become more active. Hermann Pister, the former commandant of Buchenwald after Koch, stated that Ilse Koch had absolute power over the lives and deaths of the prisoners. She personally selected people for extermination because of their tattoos. One former prisoner even showed in court a lampshade made from the skin of his friend. This is the skin of my comrade Karl Müller. I remember his tattoo. In the end, despite all attempts to deny her guilt, Ilse was still found guilty and sentenced to life impri.
Sonment. What?
In 1948, American General Louis Clay reduced the sentence to 4 years. In his official statement, he said that there was not enough evidence. Like, yes, she was involved in the murder, but you see, she didn't actually kill anyone herself. Basically, a life sentence is too much. 4 years is perfect.
It's like saying, I don't know, Hitler himself didn't kill anyone, Putin himself didn't kill anyone, Gaddafi didn't kill anyone himself, although maybe they did, maybe I just don't know something, or maybe I don't know anything at all, I don't know, but I do know that they're complete bastards, terrible people.
Those were roughly the thoughts of the public at that time, both in the United States and in Europe, basically everywhere. The New York Times wrote about it.
This decision demeans the memory of the victims and undermines trust in American justice.
It's unknown how all of this would have ended, but in 1949, Ilse Koch ended up in court again, but this time it was a German court.
Everything started again, this time in a German way. Eugen Kogo, an Austrian journalist and former prisoner, wrote the book SS.
He testified, Ilse Koch was more than a witness to the atrocities. She organized and inspired them.
I personally saw how she chose the victims. During the new investigation, Ilse Koch also denied everything, but when she was shown the evidence, 2 lampshades, photo album covers, gloves, a writing set, all made from human skin, she said, yes, this is really mine, but I didn't know it was human skin. I thought it was pig skin or pork. The investigation wasn't very strict, it only checked if it was human skin. That's the short version. The forensic medical examination determined that all the samples presented were human skin, and tattoo elements made by human hands were clearly visible on them. The new trial lasted nearly 2 years, heard 142 witnesses, and reviewed over 300 documents. Here are the prosecutor's final words in this case. Ilse Koch turned human beings into raw material for her perverse desires. She organized industrial production using human skin. This is not just a war crime, it's a crime against humanity itself.
In 1951, she was sentenced again. And again, it was life imprisonment.
This was final. No more of those 4 years.
The whole time she was behind bars, she kept playing the victim. She said, I was just the commandant's wife at the concentration camp. I have no idea what you're accusing me of. Of those 142 people, the witnesses are lying, that's all. In 1959, in a letter to her lawyer, she wrote, she was punished for crimes she didn't commit. That's the story. And by the way, in her cell, the guards found notes where she mentioned her life in Buchenwald. And there was nothing even close to her saying that she didn't do anything. Let's put it that way. You could say that Ilse did serve her life sentence, but she finished it, well, earlier than she could have. In short, on September 1st, 1967, in the last century, the guards found her hanged in her cell. She left behind only a note, very short. I couldn't take it anymore. At the time of her death, the woman was 60. An interesting question is whether Ilse Koch was born such a sadist and monster. Some say that she was just a product of the system of her time and basically she didn't have much of a choice.
But there is also the opinion that she was actually a born sadist.
It was just the place and time, meaning all this Nazi movement, that gave her the opportunity to reveal her true self.
Write in the comments what you think about this. I've heard the opinion that such creatures aren't even worth being remembered when they've already sunk into their own hell. But on the other hand, oblivion is also the best friend of evil.